Okay, hopefully this audio comes out. I'm just going to try to raise my voice a little bit here. I know that past recordings haven't been great, but I am trying to dial this in, so bear with me and we'll get there. So I made a lot of progress over the weekend. I do still have a couple of things to sort out here, as you can see, but the drip edges are on, the roof is on. I'm going to put some trim along the fascia here and get the soffit all sorted out, so there will be a board that runs that way, and then a trim panel, the same material that's used for the siding here, underneath running there. There will also be some vents running up along the underside of the soffit, and that will vent up to the roof. You can see I've got a ridge vent installed. All the shingles are up. I did make one mistake. I ran out of shingles and had to buy a different product. I didn't realize I was buying a different product. It was exactly the same packaging and exactly the same color name, but be aware there are two Owens Corning shingles in Onyx Black available at Lowe's. One is a higher quality than the other. So the higher quality one is the one that's on this side. It sort of worked out because the lower quality one is on the other side, and from a distance you really can't tell the difference. So hopefully they both give an equivalent lifetime here, but once I get all the rest of this trimmed out, I'll get some more shingles put along the ridge vent, and that'll finish off the roof. Again, trim along the fascia there, finish the soffit, and that's done. And now I'm starting to install trim on the siding itself. So I don't have any trim on the corners yet, but I did put trim on the window. It looks a little shabby because I've caulked around it, only the top edges and the sides. You don't caulk the bottom of this stuff, so if any moisture gets in there, it can drain out. But I've got the trim installed. The window's looking great, so it just needs a little bit of paint. I probably will drag my feet on painting this, but you can see screw holes and a few things here and there, so I will paint it at some point. And then there are areas where, for instance, there will be trim that runs along this gap. And then coming down around here, I've also started working on building out the doors. You can see the first of the two doors is here, and if I can step back a little bit, get the whole thing in frame. The doors came out great. I'm really happy with them. I just have to build one more. And then you can see I've got track down here and all of the pieces down in this messy shed that I can mount this door and hang it. It'll be hung along here and just be two sliding doors. Sliding doors are a little bit more expensive, a little more difficult to install, but not that much. Compared to hanging a really heavy door with hinges and having them swing properly. But the big advantage of it is that, we do have moderate to high winds here sometimes, and if the door's open on hinges, you can get into a situation where it's kind of banging around or getting blown by the wind, smack you in the face. This door weighs 20 pounds. That's not fun. Or just damaging the door, really, slamming it around, and I didn't want that. So I will get the other door built and those two hung. That will close this area off. And then I need to clean this shed because I've been using it for storage while I'm building itself. But you can see that I've got a little bit of detail work done in here. Along this wall, I'm going to run a counter. And I'll use some of the leftover material that I have and just make kind of a work area so that if I'm working on the generator or prepping something for the house or doing whatever plumbing thing I need to do, I have a workspace to do that. Along the back wall, I'll add some storage. I already have some plastic shelving. Otherwise, I would build something nicer, but I want to just reuse what I had in the old shed because I paid money for it. No sense returning it now. So I'm just going to put those plastic shelves along the side here. In the top corner, I'll probably do a little bit of a panel here with a 12-volt system for a solar setup. I have a couple of solar cells. There's one actually sitting on top of the house deck right now, running that Starlink, just barely running that Starlink, but running it. And I'll probably end up with 3 or 4 solar panels along this roof. That's the south-facing wall. So that'll be a good sun collection there. I've already got the battery and everything else, so I'll just probably install that on a little panel here on the wall. And then finally, over on this side, if I can step back a little bit to give you a view, you can see I have these 2x8s here that I was using as ramps, 2x6s as ramps for, no, they're 2x8s. It's Monday, Sunday, I'm losing track of everything today. I was using these as ramps to get the material up onto the roof. You can see I have some wedges and notches there. What I'll be doing is, since they're 12 feet long or 14 feet long, I'll be running them across as the rafter ties on the first 2 rafters, so this one and this one, and I'll run them across up there, and then put some of this leftover OSB material along up there and make sort of like a loft storage area. And that will help me just get some of this material off the ground. I have a lot of stuff to store, even with the shelves, even with the space that I have. I know I'm going to run out of space pretty quickly, and there will be material on things that I'm just not using right away, extra shingles for the shed, just extra stuff for the house, anything that I just want to get out of like the current kind of production workflow, I'll be able to store up there. And as you can see, there's lots of room up there. So I'm really, really happy with how everything turned out. It was a learning experience. If you look closely, I can point out mistakes. I mean, there are areas where, I've got a couple of gaps here and there, a couple of studs that aren't quite perfect. I've got a stud that's like sitting proud by a 1/16 of an inch. Who cares? It's a shed. It was a learning experience, but based on what we learned here, this is the big news. We've decided we're going to change the plan for how we were going to lay out the house. Originally, if you're looking at it this way, this is going to be the mudroom, and it still is. And then the main house is going to be set up where this is the kitchen and dining room, and then back here is the living room. And then over here we'll have the master bed, closet, and master bath. We're still going to do all of that, but we're going to change the roof line. I love how the shed turned out, but working on the 812 pitch, you remember this is a salt box style, so that's a 412, that's an 812. That was really challenging for me to do. I do have a ladder that's tall enough, but look at the wind blowing the tarp around right now. You can see the anemometer going on the weather station. This is a calm day. Over the weekend while I was working on this, this was gusting 20, 30 miles an hour. And I'll tell you that even if you love heights, which I do not, getting up there on the roof and doing significant work is really, really challenging. It's not just getting up there. It's the material that you have to bring, the 50-pound sheet of OSB that you've got to nail down, the heavy shingles that you've got to lift up onto the roof. I just don't have the resources and materials and skill and experience that a contractor would have. And so from that perspective, we've decided to simplify the roof. What we'll be doing is over the main section of the house, we'll build up a standard 2-story, but with a standard gable and a standard 412 pitch roof on both sides. So it won't be a salt box, but that'll be an upper section. And then for visual detail, the area over the dining room and bedroom here will be a single story, again with a 412 pitch roof, but a simpler one. And then we will have a bit of a hip that comes out this way over the mudroom. So you'll enter the mudroom this way, and the peak will be kind of going that direction, if you can imagine that. So the main body of the house will go this way, and the entrance will go that way with a bit of a hip. And that will give us kind of a 2-floor effect, a nice visual detail, still plenty of room, if not even a little bit more than we were originally going to have. And so what? It's not going to match the shed exactly, but that was the whole point of building the shed the way we did. It was a learning experience, and now we know it's not that we couldn't do it, but it was definitely going to be a lot more time consuming. When I was working on this side on the 412, I was able to climb right up, walk right up there, no problem, no fear, no worry. Even with high wind, I was productive, and I got the whole side on this house done in about a day. This took 2 weekends, and it's mostly because I'm just climbing up on a ladder. I don't have any staging here, having to climb up the ladder instead of bringing a whole square of shingles, which is very heavy. And I've got arthritis on top of everything else. I'm bringing a few shingles at a time up, and it just really took a lot of time. So I'm climbing up and down the ladder 35 times versus being able to do this and get up there once and get her done and call it a day. So in any event, thanks for watching. Wish us luck on this next piece here. I'm going to wrap up a few details, get the door mounted, and then we'll start doing some landscaping. So in a future video, what you'll see me doing is getting a mini excavator and taking this material out. This was a strip between the house and the camper parking area, if you see that, that we were originally going to leave natural and decided that it just really isn't going to work from the plan. We'll be in and out of the camper a lot. The fifth wheel that we'll be living in all year is much wider than the truck camper because it has slides on both sides. And so I need more room here anyway. And by the time I get done doing it, there'll only be 2 bits of sage left. We might as well do some landscaping. So what we've decided to do here is we're going to fence this, run the fence from about that corner over here, around behind the shed, and then down and around this side and kind of connect with the house there. This whole area will basically be like a front yard. You'll come in, you'll have a nice little gate coming over from the parking area, from the driveway, and you'll come into a gated area. The dogs can play here. There'll be an entrance to the house here and a sliding door into the master bed there with a little bit of a deck underneath it. So this should be a really nice space, and now the shed will be part of that. So if we're working in the garden here or just wanting to do any maintenance, we'll be able to walk from the house right out to the shed without going through gates or fences. And I think it's going to work out really well. So wish us luck. That's what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. And you'll start seeing some physical changes pretty soon.